Coming to you from Chicago's South Side, you're listening to the Fighters Corner podcast with Mike Davis and Jon Gorowski.
Once again, it's Fighters Corner. With me is Jon Gorowski. My name is Mike Davis, and the topics at hand that we plan on discussing are
the Floyd Mayweather fight that happened over the weekend in Japan. It was a exhibition fight. So, unless you're counting the Big Show at WrestleMania, Floyd Mayweather is now 52-0.
And we're also going to be addressing Nowitzki, Jon Jones. You know, no UFC recap. I'm not really into the whole recap thing.
Really not much to recap. I mean, Jones did what he had to do.
Even the other fights. Like, some podcasts just go fight by fight by fight by fight. No. That just drives me crazy. You saw it. I saw it. You know, let's just go. It's just boring. You got nothing to talk about if that's what's going on. First, Floyd Mayweather. Ooh, did you watch the fight?
I did. I watched I did watch the fight from front to back.
Okay, do you remember Mike Tyson's punch out when King Hippo would get punched in the stomach?
Yeah. And
you saw his eyes and his gloves came up and went down and go.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how I was watching that fight.
Yeah.
The minute, first off, Floyd Mayweather's not getting off the couch for $9 million.
Yeah, right.
He's not doing it. I don't even think I can get him at my kid's graduation party for $9 million. He's not coming for that. So to pretend that was a real fight and not a fixed fight in a country that is notorious for fixing MMA bouts in the past and blurring pro wrestling lines, I think is an insult to everybody involved. All you got to do is watch. And Montel Griffin's my guy. He and I were texting back and forth. He said, no, the kid was just smaller and outclassed and stuff like that. And my response was, look at the first knockdown. Look at the first knockdown. And it's ridiculous. It was like he needed acting lessons.
Well, the way how I see it, the guy, I forget his name, and I don't want to try butchering it, but he's actually a pretty good Muay Thai fighter, kickboxer. Right, in Japan, he's got a really good...
He's a stud. He's a prodigy.
So, why would you lay down and put that against your record just for a payday?
Let's talk
especially in an exhibition.
Okay, now let's talk about early Pride. Okay? Not even early Pride. Let's just talk about Pride. How many times did you see people in fixed fights that were clearly fixed fights that didn't even make sense anyway? I mean, essentially, this appeared to me that it was a... hey, I've got $9 million to spend. I can make Floyd Mayweather show up here on New Year's. And they did it. Mm-hmm. The sense and the goal and all that other stuff, I'm never going to understand that. I'm not even going to try to pretend to understand it. But even the announcers, when you listen to the commentary, are like, yeah, there's not a lot of power on Floyd's punches. I mean, even they admit it. Jon, it's the most ridiculous thing I've seen in a long time. It was a pretend fight.
It very well could have been. Nasukawa was his name. Thanks, Jake. Nasukawa was his name. So, Nasukawa, he actually had some amateur MMA fights. He had some... I'm not sure if he had any pro boxing fights, but he did have some kickboxing fights. And you're right, he is a prodigy.
And he's a huge draw there.
Right, yeah.
He's not that... I mean, he's also a giant draw.
Yeah. And, I mean, could it be a money grab? Possibly. I mean, dude, if you're going to tell me whether or not I'm 50-0 in kickboxing or not, they're going to throw $9 million if we lay down?
Here we go. I'm going to pay Floyd Mayweather $9 million to stop the Michael Jordan of Japan right now in the first round and put $10 million or whatever it is, on the guy that's going to go down in the first round. It just... Dude, it reeks. It reeks of a fixed fight. And it's entertainment. Floyd Mayweather, $9 million ought to tell you that right there. It was a pretend fight.
So
he went into it knowing pretend, but there had to be an element of trust between him and as an opponent. That's where I'm curious, because Floyd Mayweather is a seasoned veteran when it comes down to strategizing, post, pre, everything.
As far as...
his system is flawless.
Absolutely. As far as...
And his handlers are,
As far as in-ring boxing, he might be one of the smartest of all times. That's why he's so good. Outside of boxing, he might be the most dumb.
Well, if you're talking finances...
yeah.
I'm saying yes. But if you're looking at the systems that he goes about to get his money, to ensure big paydays, as well as how he gets the paydays and picks his opponents... he got Canelo when Canelo was real young.
Yeah.
He
won't take him now.
No, I'd be foolish. But at the end of the day, to call him anything less than calculated, like incredibly calculated, would be foolish. Now, what his end game was with this thing in Japan, who knows? Even if there is one, there might be one. Mm-hmm. But if you look at that first knockdown, it was pathetic. That wasn't a knockdown.
Yeah.
It wasn't a knockdown.
Yeah. It looked... I mean, like, I don't want to agree with you, but it's hard not to. Okay? I mean, like, it looked like... Man, like, you ever see the end of the movie Kickboxer, where, like, Van Damme is fighting Tung Po, and, like, Tung Po is getting, like, slammed around, he kicked around like a ballerina? Like, that's what I was seeing, like, from Nasukawa. He kept getting kicked, or, I'm sorry, he kept getting punched, and, like, you see him, like, getting spun around onto the ground. I mean, it could have been choreographed. I mean, could he have, put on a show just to get money? Possibly.
All right, so we both agree it's a fake fight. Thanks, John.
I mean, it could have been. I mean, like, if I'm in his spot, then... And someone threw some money at me to, hey, dude, go down for Floyd Mayweather. Here's $9 million bucks.
I would give
in
you,
cash.
I would give you a never-ending list of things I would do for $9 million. So I mean, let's let's not discredit that as well.
I get it.
The Fighter's Corner is on now.
Jon Jones Nowitzki. I mean, I know we did our first podcast in regards to this.
Yeah,
this is part 2.
And you know what? And we did our first podcast on Jon Jones, and I think that.
How do you feel after watching this fight? Now, has your feelings changed at all
about Jon Jones, or about everything?
About everything.
Okay, well, let's make it a 2-part answer. Jon Jones, I respect him a little bit more because. Just watching
his blatant narcissism. What?
No,
I mean, his inability to understand consequence.
No. It goes a little bit more beyond that. I think that
he didn't give a fuck.
No, he doesn't. I mean, he doesn't.
Do you think he lost a night of sleep over this?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
But narcissism, yes, I do agree with that. But just the way how he handled himself in the ring before the fight, during the fight, and even after the fight, His
level of arrogance is like something that is very rarely seen before. Like the level of arrogance and the way he handled himself was incredibly rare.
Yeah, no, I just got a headline shown to me. Jon Jones wants to fight at least 3 times in 2019. Proclaims the King has returned. Okay. So he wants to fight for sure DC. He's doing everything he can to get DC to fight one more time after he turns 40, and he's gonna probably want Brock Lesnar too.
Okay, now sitting in with us, we have Jonah Williams. Jonah, what is your opinion of somebody that has beat somebody 2 times and is desperate to fight them a 3rd time?
Well, Jon Jones wants to solidify that he's the best ever. He wants to be the GOAT.
But he's never going to be able to do that based on his past history.
He's not acknowledging the fact that the question isn't whether or not he beat DC, is how dirty was he when he beat DC. Like, I mean... You beat the guy twice. You've already proved that you can beat him. Now you're less dirty? And even if you're completely clean now...
Which he's not.
Well, hypothetically. This is very, very hypothetically. Even if he was completely clean at the time of the fight, he has all the residual gains that he got being dirty all those years. Because when you're using steroids, you recover super, super quickly. So you get more workouts in. In the course of his life, how many extra full-blown workouts did he get because of what he was using?
Yeah. Well, I actually want to go over all that stuff. I put together a small little timeline of Jon Jones' little history, and I got a bunch of footnotes in front of me, but I think it's important because there's a lot of stuff that I wasn't aware of that makes more sense now.
Ahead.
So first off, let's go over.
He sounds like an apologist. Like
No. I'm not. Okay. I got. Just hear me out with this. First off, we know what he tested positive for.
Sure.
What is it? Turnaball, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what Turnaball does?
Well, it's super aggression.
Well, like, no, it's a very mild anabolic that has no or very little side effects. Okay, so like you can take Turnaball and not have to worry about getting or coming off of the cycle and have to worry about going back up on estrogen. Okay, so you can microdose it. All right, now I think I've seen some studies where people were taking the Turnaball and they were getting like close to like 20% increase in strength, speed,
recovery.
And recovery too. Mm-hmm. That's another thing too. But I want to go over Turnaball real quick. Turnaball was invented by the Germans back in the 60s. Okay. It became famous in the 90s when the East German state-sponsored officials were actually administering to their athletes, and probably close to 10,000 of them, Turnaball to be taken on a daily basis. So the Germans were giving their Olympic athletes, their World Cup athletes,
This stuff. Okay.
this stuff.
Okay.
And in that time period, the Germans won. They went to the World Cup 4 times, and they won 2 of them, which is hard to do. Okay?
Okay.
Very, very hard to do. All right? Not only that, in every single Olympic game between the 70s and the 90s, they've placed in the top 3 as far as medal counts across all categories. All right? Now time has gone on, and these athletes have been complaining about like irreversible side effects. Even one athlete has claimed that she had to even go through a sex change.
Okay, well, I mean, and we're just assuming that Turnaball is the only thing that athlete consumed in regards to performance enhancement.
Well, for Jon Jones?
No, for the athlete that you're talking about that are having all these issues.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the same common denominator. So, I mean, like,
Okay.
the athletes that are complaining, that was one of them.
Now,
These athletes are stacking, but the Turnaball is what's associated.
with Jon Jones. Okay.
Well, yeah.
With them as well. Okay, well, go ahead.
I have a stat here you guys might use. It says that they took a sample. It's from the 2008 and 2012 Olympics combined. So 99 athletes, 136 positive results. Of the 136 positives, 64 came from Turnaball.
There you go. So it's something that you can take in small amounts and improve your performance.
All right. Here we go. So, how much? You said 10,000, right?
10,000 estimated. And there's a book about this too, so I'm not making up
Okay.
these
So
numbers.
essentially, it's probably the same amount of drug tests that USADA has given the UFC roster. Probably, definitely over 5,000. Probably closer to 10,000 total. So now, we've only got one guy with this issue. How many of the UFC's roster do you think at one point or another has had some sort of performance-enhancing drug in their system at one time in their careers?
Well, I think it's all...
At least half.
I
think it's a safe guess.
It could be. It could very well be a safe guess.
Or higher.
Or possibly higher. I mean, the thing...
We're talking even the athletes that were on the roster that got clean, then went to it. So we're also talking them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean,
Okay,
it's
so
definitely
none
possible.
of them have had issues
No, not like this, but, I mean...
with the pulsating effect. Like
Which
with
I-
several failed drug tests in between.
The one thing I don't agree with is the pulsating effect. Okay, and I'm gonna get to that in a minute. I want to go
All right,
over.
let's-
I want to keep going over.
Yeah, okay.
A couple other things. So the first drug he tested positive for was,
Cocaine?
No, clomidopine.
Or estrogen blocker.
Well, actually,
What
yeah.
did he got from a gas station boner pill?
No. There's a very, very, very interesting story about this. So he tested positive for it. Okay, and what this drug does is it increases estrogen in your body. So when you're coming off of a anabolic steroid, like a high dosage of anabolic steroid, your body stops producing estrogen. So you need to take something like this to bring your estrogen levels back up. Because if you don't, you will start to get like gynecomastia. Boobs.
Yeah.
You'll start to get that stuff. So he got caught with this in his system. Now he goes to arbitration, and he complains, or he arbitrates that he took a contaminated substance. Okay, from his buddy Eric Bassich or whatever his name is. One of his.
Okay.
So
yeah,
he took it from him.
Threw a specific guy under the bus, which is important.
Yeah, well, so he goes in front of the USADA. He says that this dude hooked him up with some fucked up shit, and he says that he took Cialis, or he claims it was Cialis, or a form of Cialis, and that they got it from a website called like allbetapeptide.com or whatever. So what's funny about this is that he told investigators one thing, and then when he went in front of USADA, he told them something else.
Okay.
And what and the story becomes very, very blurry.
Okay.
All right. Now, what I'm getting at,
So he's been telling the truth the whole time.
no.
Is that what you're
He's
saying?
been
Okay.
telling two truths. He's been telling two truths.
His truth.
His truth.
Yeah, he's
plus
telling
another-
his truth. Plus a
another
few
truth.
others. Yeah, plus
So-
a few others, depending on who's in front of him. Okay.
The funny thing about this is that when he first off, he doesn't need Cialis. I mean, an athlete at his age,
Is this from hands-on experience?
hands-on
or-
experience, the dude
For
like,
sure,
Hard as
dude.
a rock.
I mean, dude, like you,
Right, dude.
any of the athletes have ever fought for, you know that he doesn't need it. But so anyways, he tells arbitration that obviously it's a contaminated Cialis pill or whatever, and they get back to him. They ask for an invoice. They're like, all right, we'll prove it. So he shows him an invoice saying, all right, I got this. It got sent to my teammate. Then they're like, no, we're not going to accept this. They're like, well, why? They're like, well, your camp started at the end of July. You got this invoice like at the middle or beginning of July. How's this possible? It's getting sent to New York. You're already in Albuquerque, and you already told us, through your timeline about this. So
it's not plausible.
It's not plausible. So then, check this out. So then he provides them with another invoice, and this second invoice does have indeed the Cialis on it, plus another line item.
Photoshopped a little bit better.
No,
Okay.
this second line item is Clomid.
The actual steroid.
The actual steroid that he tested positive for. It was on there.
So he's guilty.
I mean, without a doubt. But USADA and the arbitrators, they gave him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay, and then it was from the pills and not the other
Exactly.
drug.
Which is, of course, what they do with everybody. Is give the benefit. They're famous for giving the benefit of the doubt.
So essentially, John, is what you're saying is that in every step of the way, he has been enabled by those that are in charge of applying rules.
He's been...
So now when we go to the press conference and it appears that he hasn't missed a single minute of sleep, it's due to the fact that, well, it's status quo. Like he's just going to assume that they are going to continue to do this. And you know what? He was right. And he's talking as if there's no ramifications for his positive drug tests that he took prior to this test.
He's not talking like there's no ramifications. He is stating that there's no ramifications, and he's dead fucking right.
That's insane.
I mean, like, he did get suspended or banned for a year from the sport, and that's probably...
And he's still taking it.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, yes, yeah. I mean, he's testing positive for it, so...
In the horrible statement he made to DC, he was like, I slap your ass on the wife and get away with it. I'm never going to change. That I'm never going to change, he's saying he's never going to change. He's not going to stop doing anything that he's doing. And why would he?
He doesn't have to.
If he stopped using drugs at this point, he'd be a dummy. Like, why? They clearly don't
you'd be
care.
foolish. They're giving you an advantage.
You.
Yeah. Like, they say it's not an advantage. It's not an advantage. But when you look at like when you look at the bylaws and you look them up online and rules and regulations of people that are coming back into activity again after being suspended from steroids or some sort of abuse like that, they have to test completely clean. They have to in order to compete. It's including USADA has that on their website.
Yeah, which you're right. And
which he can't do because he's not doing it.
I can guarantee you after all this settles that there's going to be some sort of smudging of the rules.
Well, what they already did, it was, we're not going to announce... Remember a couple months ago, they said, less than a couple months ago, within the last few months, they said that, well, rather than hang somebody out to dry with every positive result, we are going to hold the results until we do an investigation.
Right.
Do you remember when they did that?
Right.
Which coincided with all of his failed drug tests.
Right. Yeah. So then this one comes out, no suspension, no nothing. They're like...
And to pretend like USADA gives a shit, talk to Mark Hunt. He fought a guy that tested positive for steroids before he got into the ring with Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
You know, which was like their big one. That was like their big event.
UFC 200.
Yeah.
This was the UFC's big year-end event.
Which, by the way, Jon Jones got kicked off that card for his second positive drug
That's
test.
right.
And
that's why they brought in Brock.
What was
that's
the
why they brought in Brock Lesnar.
What was the announcement that they made? It was Jon Jones will never headline a
Yeah.
card.
Bullshit. He'll never headline a card again. Lo and behold, a year and a half later, they moved an entire card to a different state.
Well, when you've got new owners, that don't understand the sport, things like this happen.
Yeah.
And as we had discussed, their best bet is just getting rid of USADA and allow the states to do their little BS drug tests that everyone beats and just go back to it, because all this has done is given everybody a black guy that's been involved.
Or let the YAKUZA do the drug testing like they did back in the day of Pride.
Yeah, just pee in the toilet, we'll test the water after you flush.
Exactly. Those were the best. I mean, the best fights were out of Pride during the YAKUZA era.
Even if you look at like the Mike Tyson era of boxing, to pretend that those guys weren't all juiced up is odd.
How big
You're
was
out of
Mike
your
Tyson
mind.
when he was 15 years old? 230 something, like he was already a heavyweight at 14.
Yeah, all those guys were juiced to the
I'm
gills.
sure
You can
it
see
was-
it. None of them passed an eye test.
I'm sure he ate a lot of Wheaties. I'm
It's
sure that's
sure.
what it
Yeah.
was.
Well, I think that's why he got kicked off out of the Olympic training, like the compound.
Yeah.
He tested positive for steroids. Yeah,
Do you, know
Tyson
what,
did.
do you know what he tested positive for?
I couldn't tell you, but I do recall that. I do recall that taking place. Like, I'm not speaking out of term when I say that.
Yeah. Anyways, I want to get back on track. I want to go back to 2017 where he tested positive with Jon Jones. All right.
But wait. And there's also a steroid that powerlifters use that baseball players were using in the ball code days that was out of your system in a couple hours. And one of the theories is because Jon Jones was doing powerlifting for a while, or hanging out with powerlifters.
Oh yeah. And let me pause and interject with something.
Was it called Marinaball? What's it called?
Hit Turnaball.
No. Begins with an M. With the powerlifters use.
Oh,
it.
I don't know.
It's in your system for 3 hours and then it's gone. It's what all the baseball players were using.
Yeah.
They were
Maybe even Alex Rodriguez with the gummy bears.
with the gummy. Yeah, they were talking about that, and then essentially, like this they were saying is that this formula that's out of your system so fast is so difficult to get. Like Turinabol is impossible to get. They say.
Yeah.
They say this is even more difficult to get, and sometimes what they do is they cut it slightly with Turinabol because you can get away with it because Turinabol's got such a fast half-life as well.
Yeah. So with
So it's possible.
it definitely
That's
is.
what he was
Well,
using.
let's sprinkle in that who are his two brothers
2 guys that have tested positive for steroids as
in
well.
the NFL,
In the NFL.
which I guarantee you there are biochemists on NFL payrolls that are trying to figure out how to get past drug tests. You know what I mean?
Well, for sure. I mean, Olympic committees. Like,
If
you
not
know,
on the
you
NFL
look at
payroll,
you look at the doctors that are associated with whoever's in charge of the Olympics, and you try to afford to go to them.
Exactly. I mean, if you got the money, you're going to do it.
because they're beating steroid tests now.
If you're a drug dealer and you have one millionaire customer, you're good. What's the NFL? How many millionaires are there who need drugs? If you're one clandestine chemist, you go to the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
for sure.
It definitely
for sure.
makes sense that Jon Jones would have access through his
Oh,
brother.
absolutely. I mean, if he's making $9-10 million a year,
If not through his own means, he's got 2 other avenues to meet these people, to ensnare people.
Exactly, and that's why you don't hold it against them. I mean, like, everything is lining up for you to definitively say that he's not clean. Okay, now going back 2017 when he got kicked off that card, USADA tested him, USADA tested him on 6 different occasions. All right, once in February, April, 3 times in May, July, and then October. All negative tests except for the one in July, which he tested positive for something that could have been Turinabol. Now, I want to say something important about Turinabol. Turinabol is a type of drug that when you ingest it, it's in your body. Okay, it's not like other drugs where you can take it and it'll force your body to increase the testosterone that you're creating. So it's not like he came in with high testosterone levels. It's Turinabol.
Oh, okay. So it's not making other parts of his body work harder. It's the Turinabol that is actually working.
If you have Turinabol in your body, it's because you
So
ingested.
then when it's gone, it's gone.
Right,
How is it
exactly.
going to store anywhere?
Exactly. That's why you can microdose it and find success with it. Okay, because like once it's in your body and it's working, dude, you become stronger, faster.
So essentially,
leaner.
it's like an antibiotic. It works. It cleans out whatever it needs to clean out, or push whatever it needs to push. And when it's gone, it's gone.
But when it's in your
there is
body,
effects on your body.
when it's in your body, it leaves a little bit of a footprint that, hey, I'm here. Okay, it's not like you're taking a testosterone pill and there's.
Yeah, but that footprint is so light that a gentle wind can blow it away.
Well, I mean that's what it is. So, but during that 2017 when he tested positive for that.
But they're also talking about when the test was administered, and with something with this such short of half-life, it's on its way out. So you're not going to sit there, well, it was only this much in his system. You're assuming that that's residual effects from something that happened 18 months ago, and not that it's something he's taking now.
Right. Now,
Which, Jonah, let me ask you a question. Do you think the Jeff Novinsky that's answering and shielding for Jon Jones is the same Jeff Novinsky that would do the same thing when he was chasing after Lance Armstrong?
Dude, if he'd have caught Lance Armstrong on some picogram bullshit, dude, he would have ran him right under the prison, dude. Like
how many drug tests did Lance Armstrong fail?
0. None.
And how many years was he chasing him?
About a decade? It was 10 years or something?
Forcing team members and
Going through the trash, cousin, sister's, girlfriend's, brother's, nephew.
there'd be a celebratory party happening if this were Lance Armstrong, right? And and Lance Armstrong, I know he's got he's got a personality that either you really like, you really don't. The guy's alpha. The guy's
Yeah.
alpha as hell. He wants to win. And to sit here and pretend, I used to get like pissed off at Lance Armstrong, like, dude, just take your weight. But this incident has kind of given me a peek into what he was dealing with and why he's so pissed off. And you know what, man? I hate to say it, I kind of see where he's coming from.
As far as I'm concerned, Lance Armstrong didn't really cheat. I'll explain that. Because they told him very specifically, you have to pass these tests in order to compete. They didn't tell him what you got to do. They said, you got to pass these tests. He said, okay, I'll pass your test. And he passed them all at 100%. Did he do what you would want your kids to do? Hell no. But did he break the rules he was given? No.
He just blurred him.
That's it.
He said, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and I'm not going to fail your test.
Give him his jackets back.
Exactly. But so
give him his jackets
we got way
back.
sidetracked, and John's got some more good stuff. I see it on his...
Well, now you go to the 6 drug tests that he took in 2017. All right, took 6 of them. He only got popped for 1. The one that he got popped for was during his training camp. How convenient, right?
Well, I mean, the pulsating effect must be coming on every time he sweats. Yeah.
So
in other words, I got a good workout in. Let me just take this out of my system quick. Wow.
So then,
or he's just a victim of just
it's
a bizarre set of circumstances that repeatedly
well,
reoccur in
a
his life.
sizzling effect from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So then he tells USADA or the investigators, like, hey, I took a contaminated substance. He provided them with a list of 14 different substances that he took, and they all came back clean. Okay, he still says that he took a banned
Well,
substance.
it's got a 16-hour half-life. Maybe it worked its way out of the substance it was in.
Well,
we might as well apply it everywhere, not just a human body.
Also, too, when he was talking to the arbitrators, he said that during this time period he took illicit street drugs, including cocaine. The cocaine. He took some cocaine.
Okay.
So I mean, now like I heard over the weekend too that that cocaine is now getting cut up with creatine. And
so here we go. I explained this to a guy at a party. He goes, okay, well, how do you think he tested positive? I go, well, the theory is that, when you mix vats of like protein and creatines and like in supplements and stuff like that, a lot of times they don't completely clean the vats out. Now, this guy doesn't know anything about the fight game. He goes, okay, I can see that. Yeah. So essentially, they mixed creatine in a vat that had the most expensive friggin' steroid, you can possibly get in it prior. It tainted the creatine, which was used to cut his cocaine. And the guy looked at me and he goes, "Hey, get the fuck out of here, man." Did he not say you were there, right? He's like, "Man, get the fuck out of here." Like, oh, okay, you don't believe that one? No. Well, that's his story. And they gave him a discount on the time because, he says, well, I did cocaine. I admit I did cocaine. I just never used drugs. The guy is a liar. The guy swore on his children that he doesn't use steroids. He swore on his own children. The guy, in his pecking order of life, he is number 1.
Oh, yeah.
To say his children are number 2 and not have a vast amount of difference, of space in between 1 and 2, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
He is a narcissist.
Very much
and somebody that's been enabled his entire life. When he went to the UFC, remember? Yeah, I'm always a good kid. I used to tell on people smoking weed. I wanted to be a police officer. Remember that little charade he was doing?
Oh, yeah.
The thing is, he believes his bullshit. And then he says, well, I took a lie detector test, that's like the feds talking to you.
Yeah, no, he did it himself. He hired someone to do the lie detector stuff
with questions that did they ever say the questions?
No, they didn't. He just said he passed it. But if he would have failed it, you would have never heard about this drug or this lie detector.
Well, he also was in complete control of that lie detector test. So how the questions were asked?
No, it's bullshit. It's straight up bullshit. But after he tested positive for that contaminated substance, he cooperated. He went out of his way to try to find...
How are you cooperating if you're not telling the truth?
He snitched.
On who?
Whoever. If you read between the lines...
that's what they're saying, John, but he never really... Who was he told
you don't know you don't know that, like, someone... They're not going to come out and say, well, since Jon Jones told us that so-and-so did this...
Well, if USADA comes to my job and for some reason I got it contaminated in my system and I'm getting suspended from my job, I'm telling on Jonah. I don't even know what it is, but whether it's true or not, I don't care. Dude,
whatever it is.
Estrogen pills. One day, showing up at your door and just say sorry.
To that point, he's saying, I didn't do anything wrong. How can you cooperate? What do you have to give? if you haven't been, if you're
you
not
got
doing
nothing
this
wrong,
on purpose,
you can't
if you're taking this
cooperate.
by accident, are you snitching on the other guys who are having the same accidents?
Right.
There's nothing. Yeah, if you've done nothing wrong, how
Right.
can you cooperate? You're
Yeah.
innocent.
Yeah, right.
What are you going
But-
to turn in your source? The other guy that was doing it?
The double
Like,
speak that's going on with these
It's
people.
disgusting.
You know, man, like, did you ever have a boss at work that one day goes, hey, I need you to do this job. And then the job goes good and they take credit for it. Mm-hmm. And then when the job goes bad, they go, hey, man, it wasn't my idea. It was somebody else's idea. I'm just bringing it forward. Like, people that act like that never take a stand. Like, he's being paid to take a stand. Like, he'll tell you what every single expert says, but he'll never tell you what he says. Mm-hmm. You know, and the amount of doublespeak, if you have a 6-figure job and this is your job, I don't care about Jonah. I don't care about you, John. I'm going to tell you what I say, and I am the deciding factor. Not, all right, dude, we heard your deciding factor, but now you're going to go call some experts, and you are going to, cloud your decision and blame everything on them with you never, ever having to take a stand. His only thing that he's doing right now is just painting up different theories of why this can be wrong. And he's saying, well, the tests are so strong right now that it's picking up things and it's kind of gotten out of control. I mean, he's doing interviews saying things of that nature, but at the end of the day, they are supposed to be in control of everything. Like, in the past, it didn't matter. Like, you want to eat a protein bar? You want to do this? You want to do that? You call me. You call me. You call me. And if you don't call me, it's your fault. That's how they operated by.
I remember the Beijing Olympics. This is obviously not USADA. This was the World Anti-Doping Agency. But the meat was triggering the test. There's so many hormones in the meat. In China, it was triggering the hormone test. They tell them, you can't eat meat. We know you've trained your whole life for this. You're a vegan for this whole competition now. Go fuck yourself because you're setting off our test.
Yeah.
Not our test is wrong. You got to give up meat.
So, this guy, when was the last time you called somebody a coward?
You can call somebody a lot of different things, man, but a coward
You
is
call
something
somebody a
you're gonna-
bad word, I say something nasty to you, dude. You know that? Hey, that can just bead right off of your back.
Yeah.
But a coward,
Rolling up your sleeves.
woo, dude, that word right there is in its proper context is so heavy to where it's like, man, you better stop and pause and you better think, because that person has lost all respect for you. And you know what? And there's no recovering. If you're a coward, you can never recover from that. And Jeff Novinsky right now appears to be a coward.
Yeah. You know, I did a lot
His
of
entire body of his life work right now is not only coming into question, people are laughing at him.
I don't feel bad for him because he's taken away the life work of other people who worked way fucking harder for way longer.
Yeah.
So kind of fucking. But yes. Like,
You know, like right now, like everything right now is so permanent. This will be a wiki highlight after he is gone for his grandchildren to read, going, yeah, he was a coward at the end of his life.
Yeah. That's a pretty messed up word, man.
It really is. It is.
It is.
Think of a better descriptor. This guy, truth, justice, and the American way, you know, all of those things. I'm going to get him just as I suspected, you know?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
You know that old expression, snitches get hugs and everybody loves them? Yeah, it's not an expression.
Yeah, I've never heard it.
Snitches get stitches. We hate them. Everybody hates snitches, but you get to sit up there on your high horse.
Yeah.
Then you get this fucking guy, his whole life snitching.
I
Now
hope
he's
the
off
money-
his high horse,
I hope
and
the-
everybody hates him.
I hope the money he's getting paid is worth it. Because to look at yourself in the mirror after those press conferences and the bullshit that he's had to spin and the plates that he's had to balance, because they're not out of the woods yet. They still are going to have to go in front of Nevada.
Yeah. I'm curious to know about that. That's why I was hoping that we would get like a post-fight drug test result to see what Jon Jones, if he pissed positive for anything.
If I'm California, I'm letting him go into the bathroom alone with a few teammates, and I am getting him. I'm collecting it as he hands me the urine jug
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's funny too that employees of the UFC, Jeff Novinsky and even Joe Rogan, think that Jon Jones didn't test positive or he's clean, you know, and that this is just a pulsing effect. Come on.
So I listened to the Rogan on this. Rogan is very, very tentative.
He's measured.
He's very measured. Like he's not comfortable with this, and he's not said that he's comfortable with this at any point. He's not flat out been like, this is bullshit and you need to knock it off.
Ooh, but he's raising his eyebrows.
Nowitzki has clearly been a choir boy his whole life because he's terrible at lying.
He is.
He's so bad at his body language. It's so clear that he's lying. On the Rogan episode, he kept saying, talking about his experts. Now, his experts almost never say anything definitive, but his experts said there is absolutely no evidence that Jon Jones took any banned substances. That is nothing definitive. He said they're not saying that he definitely did not. They're saying there is no evidence that he did.
Okay, I can. If I Google search and I work really hard, I can find a doctor that tells you heroin is good.
Oh yeah.
Okay, like actual street grade heroin isn't necessarily bad for you. So is this just one person that he found, or is this just like because I guarantee I can probably find 10 people that say he did take something.
That's not a definitive statement. He's acting like that's a definitive statement. There's nothing definitive about.
Yeah.
There's no evidence that he did. There's no evidence that he didn't. There's no that's not definitive. That is the doctor not willing to co-sign on his bullshit. And then Nowitzki acting like that was a definitive statement.
Aha! I found it. I found somebody to agree with the narrative.
The doctor said there's no evidence that he did. The doctor didn't say there's no evidence that he didn't.
At the end of the day, I bought the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Did you?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. It's
Jonah?
It's like the WrestleMania for the UFC.
I
last part
watched
of the
it.
year.
I watched it at a friend's house. So basically, yes.
Yeah. I did a lot of research. Like we went to KC this past weekend, so like I was in a car ride for like 9 hours.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of research on Turnbull and just like the stuff that like Gregory.
Do you think he did it?
I have 3 theories on this. Turnbull is they say it's like a new drug. First off, it's not. It's not a new drug, and no country is making a pharmaceutical grade Turnbull, so it's impossible for someone to say, hey, let's get this tested.
So there's not a giant vat that is the same size as a creatine load?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that probably doesn't exist.
So there's no one to oversee it or monitor it, even if there was. Because you want, like... it's like
it's made in a laboratory and it's made for the person.
And no one is overseeing that laboratory work.
There's no... You can't ethically give it to people to do clinical trials on it because it's technically not legal to give to people.
Exactly. There's no country in the world that makes this stuff. So you can't test it
officially.
Officially, okay.
Yeah, so it's just you're getting
back
it.
alley chemist. Okay.
Back.
All right, so go ahead. Go with your theory.
So
let's hear.
The one dude who did was Gregory Romachenko, the guy from Icarus, and now he's on witness protection. He did some studies, and I mean they were a little bit flawed, but his theory is that it's only going to stay in your body for at most 80 days. Not 180 days.
Are these like dog ear days, or are these? I'm just trying to I'm helping Jeff Nowitzki out.
And he did a lot of these on himself. He's not an athlete. He obviously carries body fat like a regular person. So if it's stored in your body fat, it would stay in him way longer than in a Jon Jones.
That's not a theory. That's a statement. So John, you have 3 theories.
I got 3 theories on this. The first one, which gives Jon Jones the benefit of the doubt, is that he did take a contaminated substance, and they are out there. Contaminated substance are a thing, and the reason why they're a thing is because there's no third party governing body that's going to check out these labs, making sure they're splitting these bats up the way how they should be.
Okay, can I counter that?
Sure.
Okay, so now in essence, this is a person that's had a few strikes, right?
Right.
He's already had that issue in the past.
Right, but I'm saying it's a plausible theory
for him to kind of go through that again, and still not understand that he needs to be careful.
You're right. Okay. Not likely.
Probable, possible.
Right, but it's still possible. I mean, it's still there.
Improbable, but possible. There we go.
Picogram and the picogram level. That's how possible it is.
Go ahead.
My second theory. My second theory sort of goes along the lines of his illicit drug use. Now we don't know, if he did cocaine or anything like that, or any other illicit drugs during this time period, but he could very well have taken some street drugs, cocaine, cut up with creatine that had a little bit of Turnbull residue in it, and like I said, when it's in your system, it's in your system. My third theory is that Jon Jones, it's a little bit out there, but it's probably could be the most probable, is that he took a designer steroid, meaning that he hooked up with a biochemist, and that biochemist pretty much made him a cocktail of a bunch of different drugs, and in there was probably a little bit of a trace of Turnbull.
Wow. That's pretty deep right there.
So if you think back to UFC, first of all, that's brilliant. I would not have come up with that. John,
Yeah, I got to
really,
on
you
that.
have way too much time on your hands.
I
Or
did.
You're a whole lot smarter than us.
I did.
One or the other.
Yeah,
It was a
Okay.
9-hour road trip. I had a bunch of time.
I'm going time. Yeah.
That was and that would explain. You remember when
It's
he
snitching.
when he popped dirty on for UFC 200? He seemed legitimately shocked. He really seemed to not have any idea how he could have popped dirty. If he had a chemist cooking up some designer thing that wasn't supposed to pop test, he would have been shocked like that.
So essentially, the theory is that he's got a designer steroid that, for some reason, when combined with his body, like the chemicals in his body, maybe set off the test as positive turinabol, but it wasn't turinabol. It was just whatever he's taking is sensitive, like in that nature, but he's still on something.
Or maybe his chemist is just making a bunch of different stuff.
Or
and-
his
His
chemist
chemist
got
screwed up.
yeah, and there was still something in
So
there.
like if
But-
he's making a cocktail like the Jon Jones vial cocktail, okay, and this is your cycle I made customized for you, Jon Jones, and in that is 5 or 6 different supplements that he's making on his own, but maybe let's say 2 or 3 of them he's got to outsource to a lab that
Whatever.
he trusts.
Yeah,
whatever.
whatever. Yeah.
But in that,
Now that makes sense to me. And I'm going to tell you another thing with his cooperation. That's certainly, if he's got one chemist that's screwed up, all right, dude, I was using steroids. I already suffered a punishment for that, right? I've already paid. All right, well, I'm going to tell you the truth. I had a chemist. He was doing this, that's the other thing. He gave me, you know, what had me test positive for it. Was I on steroids? Yes. I served my punishment for it. It was this chemist, which gives him a pass on this test.
well, let me add another layer to that.
Wow.
There is the double jeopardy in this too. So like, let's say on that second test that he tested positive for last July, okay? He's not going to get in trouble for that twice. So
No, yeah, it's double jeopardy. No, for
so,
sure.
So what's not to say that he says, hey guys, remember that drug test I pissed positive for back in July of 2017? Yeah, by the way, here's the lab that I got my shit from. It was in fact
he works for
turinabol.
several fighters
Yep.
that I know of.
and that's it.
I can't prove it, but you guys are missing their test. Here's the chemist name.
This is where I ordered it. This is the guy that I got it from. This is the lab that he works out of.
I have not heard anybody pose this theory, and it makes complete and total sense.
It's possible.
According to like what it looks like with his cooperation, he pretty clearly snitched on somebody. It doesn't seem to be fighters, because fighters would have been.
and he won't address it.
Well, yeah, because fighters, you would like, well, what fighters got kicked off the roster? They would have thrown a fit. They'd have been like Jon Jones snitched on. But if it was a chemist that he snitched on, we
Or a
wouldn't
lab.
have heard of or a lab.
And USADA, here is a sample of what I was taking that you guys don't have a test for. Go ahead and figure it out. Give me my time off.
Well, let's add another layer to this. Let's add another layer to this. You have a lab, okay? You're doing this for athletes. This is not nothing new to you. Wouldn't you want to rotate your labs or move businesses around, like let's say every
Especially if you're doing
season,
it- yeah.
every NFL season? You know what I mean? So like if
Get
you
certain chemicals from certain areas.
well, not
Well,
only
you're
that,
doing
you-
something illegal.
You're
You don't wanna do it in
you're
the same
rotating.
place.
So if you do get popped, you get popped for what you did last year. Now by the time someone marks you off from last year's operation, you're already operating out of a new operation. You know what I mean? So like Jon Jones not gonna care. He's like, hey, I bought this from this guy. He's not in business anymore. I don't know where he's at. He told me last time he was on a one-way ticket to Brazil.
And to really get him over, because he's so cooperative. They keep saying he was so cooperative. This is what I took. They gave me the enhancement that you guys don't have the ability to test for.
There you go.
Now let me go find another chemist to come up with another
Exactly.
concoction. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened.
I think it's the most plausible.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's deep, dude. That's brilliant, and it would make sense because the big question with everybody has been 2 big questions about his cooperation. One, if he snitched on anybody, why didn't that make the news?
And everyone's concentrating on the gym.
Yeah,
And it's not the gym.
Well, maybe it is if everybody.
In that gym is on it. It is the
If every
greatest gym with the greatest athletes.
you know what? It's a phenomenal gym in the middle of nowhere that came out of nowhere.
So to wrap this up, I think, we're not going to address this again. Like, this
Yeah.
is a dead horse, unless, some other news comes
Yeah.
up. Our beliefs that Jon Jones snitched on a chemist.
Well,
probably somebody that might even hang out at that gym, one of the fanboys. I mean,
Right.
that's what Balco was. It was just a fanboy.
I was going to bring that up
that
too.
hung out with athletes.
Yep. That's exactly.
It's a brilliant book. I mean, I don't know if you've read.
No,
the
I haven't
Balco
had the
book.
chance.
It's phenomenal
Yeah.
book. Great read. I read it like almost a decade ago. So our theory is that Jon Jones has been dirty, under the guise of a different type of steroid that are, what would you call it?
Just a
A
designer.
designer steroid. Yeah.
Designer steroid.
Because most of these things are from the 60s. I mean, most of these things are pretty old, and there's slight variations. If you got someone to make
especially
with the new,
right. Especially like with the new technology and stuff like that. So Novinsky stating, like, in essence, well, these tests have gotten out of hand because they're going down so little. Well, maybe it's tripping something else that's tested positive for this.
Yeah, so you got an Olympic skier, and he mentioned this on Rogan. You got an Olympic skier
With lip balm. Yeah.
With lip balm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this test is so sensitive, she popped for the steroids in her lip balm. You got Olympic gymnasts getting their medals taken away and get kicked out of the Olympics for using ibuprofen and aspirin. Like, eventually, I would hope that this conversation would leak into a little bit more fairness for other athletes.
It's unfortunate they're using other athletes as examples in order to try to justify a person that's clearly flawed as a human being.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to keep rambling into this, but think of the other side of the coin of Jeff Novinsky. Like, right now we're shitting on him, but think about on the other side of the table on how Dana's approaching him. And
Dana, I mean, the guy that cuts him his check,
yeah,
is telling
he's probably
him we
saying,
need to figure this out.
And they took gray area. And they mixed a bunch of bullshit into it, and they allowed Jon Jones to fight.
But the gray area that they used was stuff that's not admissible in court.
Exactly.
And is completely irrelevant, because the rules state we can't punish you for taking the same thing again, but if it shows in your system in any way, shape, or form, you are unlicensable.
Yeah.
You can't,
according to the letter of the law, which is what we addressed at the beginning. So
if you still have some performance benefits, residual benefits, you can't put that into someone's face in a ring.
No.
Well,
so
the bottom line, he tested positive, and they still fought.
Double birds, dude. Double birds. So, with that, we're going to wrap it up. Next week, we're going to talk about, boxing. Obviously, John, you'd like to touch on boxing.
Yeah, 2019 is going to be a really good year for boxing, especially in the heavyweight division.
I want to talk about the UFC and what's happening in Canada in regards to the top 10 fighters that are coming out of there, or lack thereof.
Sure.
The reason for the dive and stuff like that. So,
we're
going to get to it. So,
plenty to talk about.
Plenty to talk about next week. With that, Fighters Corner, Jonah, thanks for joining us, man. Sincerely appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.